Thank you all for your words. I really appreciate it. And now I'll begin with the question, the Q&A portion. Ms. Eberl and I will be taking turns asking questions, and then each of you can just chime in when you want. We don't have to go in any particular order of candidate, just whoever begins speaking or unmutes first, I guess, and then others can follow. So I will begin. I apologize in advance for the length of this question. Bear with me. HB 20, which is now Senate Bill 130, would provide parents the choice to divert their tax dollars from our public schools to any other educational institution or program of their choice. This is a voucher system which would also not protect against the support of discriminative institutions such as adamantly anti-LGBTQ plus IA private schools, and will also not hold parents accountable for using the money wisely. One mother, for instance, said during a testimony to the state legislature that her and her daughter would use the money for aerial silks. Newmarket would lose approximately $100,000 in funding if this bill were to be passed in the New Hampshire State Legislature. What is your personal stance on the bill, and how would you publicly respond to its proposal?
Hi, Zoe, it's Heather Durant. I'm going to have to correct you a little bit, and I'm sure everyone on the board knows this, but today House Bill 20 was transferred over into House Bill 130. And so the opponents of House Bill 20, which let me just state, I am not in favor of House Bill 20, which is now House Bill 130. That's also, for a little background, called the Educational Freedom Account Bill, and which is separate than the House Bill 594 that failed, and we could talk about that a little bit, which has to do with the school building aid. But so the Education Freedom Account, these are bank accounts that are set up for families to access state funds that offset private school costs. There isn't much regulation or transparency, obviously, on what these funds can be used for, so I don't agree with this at all. Pulling funds from the Newmarket School District, that affects the opportunity of all our students. And in fact, the New Hampshire School Board Association doesn't support the bill either. Pulling local tax funds from Newmarket, we have over 900 students in our schools, and that could really be disastrous, especially coming out of this pandemic. So no to House Bill 20, which is now House Bill 130.
First I want to comment both on the political awareness of this club. I don't think very many New Hampshire citizens are aware of the bill, and for you guys to be on top of this, it's pretty awesome. I am opposed to the bill as well, for many of the reasons that you read in your question there. Just in general, I would oppose any policy that would discriminate or make any child feel unsafe or they don't belong in the classroom. In this bill in particular, I think it's just the wrong way to address education improvement. It's a waste of money. You could see this in examples of other states that adopted it. Florida in general, I think generally you don't want to grab education ideas from Florida, especially when New Hampshire's at the very top and Florida's down at the very bottom. For me, the biggest reason I oppose the idea of these education funds or vouchers is that education is a public good. It's an idea here that we're coming together for the community to educate our youth. This would be the equivalent of asking for the money that I pay that goes to a public park for me to take back so I can join a country club. It doesn't work for the idea of a public good. And the idea of public education is to prepare everyone for this democratic society and to be successful. And the vouchers in the past that in other states have really divided the community into the haves and have-nots and not really level the playing field.
Hi, this is Amy. So on HB 20, as you said, HB 130 now, I tried to look at both sides of the coin when I approach any votes or bills or anything like that, decision making. And I had a really hard time finding any support anything that I found supportive for this bill that would help the students of New Hampshire. One, I mean, it has no income gaps. It's open to all New Hampshire families, but the average voucher is going to be about $5,000. But when most private schools cost $20,000 a year, so how does a middle class or lower income family pay the rest of their tuition? So I don't quite understand the whole 4,000 average cost of a voucher. Also, where we're lacking in funding as it is, as Heather mentioned, it's just gonna get worse if this bill is passed. Also, we're using public funds potentially for children attending religious schools, and I don't want children to be felt like they're forced into any type of school that they don't believe in or value. Because the majority of the schools that could accept a voucher for 4,560 as it's proposed, it would be a religious school. Most of the private schools, as I mentioned, cost $20,000 a year. Also, what worries me, there are no accountability requirements to ensure students are receiving adequate education to the public. They also have no assessments of the children after a year, such as in public schools, we do assessments periodically. So there's many issues with this bill, and I'm not in favor of it.
Thank you all for your thoughtful answers. Now Ms. April is going to ask our next question.
All right, give me 1 second here. As a board member, where would you look to make budget cuts, and how would you work to balance the need to provide a quality education with the needs of the taxpayers?
This is Andrew. I'll go first. So this is a really tough question. Unfortunately, much of the increases we've seen in the past few years have been driven by the bonds that we're paying for the school, and rightfully so, as well as the way New Hampshire pays for education. So we're kind of fighting, an uphill battle in this. And I think too that this year's difficulty about keeping schools open because of the need to have teachers in the classroom, shows that cuts with teachers just are going to make things more difficult. And this, is reinforced by the idea of the experience that we had with trying to use VLAX as an alternative for courses as opposed to hiring more teachers. I'm extremely empathetic with the increase in taxes. We are a family that has 2 teacher salaries and 2 young children. We have good jobs, but we're definitely feeling the increase in taxes as well. I do promise that if I'm on the board, that any decision that comes to money, I'll be very diligent about balancing the interests of the needs of our students as well as the taxpayers, and am very aware of the impact of the increase in taxes.
Hi, Kristen, thank you so much. I don't want to cut any of the budget. I think that this district has squeezed 2 nickels together as much as they can. We're not getting a whole lot of help now from the state of New Hampshire, so we're relying a lot on the taxpayers. But we need to remember that we have 99 employees at the elementary school and 94 employees at the high school. And none of them are sitting around eating bonbons. They are up early. They are going to bed late. And I'm investing in them. I believe in them. And I think that we are on the right path and that we're making progress. The role of the board, obviously, is to help advise the administration. And if the teaching community wants to look at making some budget cuts, certainly they're the ones that would bring it to the table for us to look at. And then we'll take the community's best interest and the feedback from the community to look and see what would match with what the teachers feel that they could, that they could live without. So that's a really tough one, but no, I don't want to see any part of any budget getting cut, especially going forward after COVID. We have so many things that we're going to be finding challenging in the next 18 months. So sticking steady into the course, I think, is the right thing to do right now.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Amy again. So if you look at a school budget, most of the school dollars go towards instructional staff and the people who manage them. We really need to, I don't want to make any cuts when it comes to personnel, teachers, paras. So we need to look elsewhere. And looking at the budget, I sign manifest every month for being on the school board. And there's a lot of expenses. It's out of control. So we need to look at things that are non-educational that we could probably maybe cut, such as, energy costs, stay on top of our renewals for insurance. Like this year, insurance is going up for 5% on health insurance. That's a big cost right there. Transportation cost, just in special education costs right now for transportation is going up $92,000 just for special ed. That's huge. When we budgeted for general transportation for next year, it went up $153,000. We had to put in 10% extra. So I'm looking at other, as I said, non-educational ways to cut costs. Also, contractual obligations. Maybe we can renegotiate contracts with some of our vendors. So we have to kind of be, look at those things rather than take away from the students. I don't want to, as Heather mentioned, Andrew, COVID is going to affect our students in the next few years. It's referred to as the COVID slide. And as we adjust the needs, the learning needs of our students because of COVID, I don't want to take away from the teaching aspect of that. So those are just some ideas I have, and hopefully be able to work on that for the next budget next year.
Okay, thank you all. Back to you, Zoe.
Thank you. Our next question is, what is your opinion on the Common Core standards and how they are currently being implemented in the district? Given the option to, what would you like to see changed?
Zoe, can I ask real quick with this question? Were you referring to like the political debate that's centered around Common Core with the idea of federalism and school control? Or were you referring just basically the idea of Common Core in general as a curriculum for education?
Common Core in general for the curriculum.
Do you guys mind if I start? I'm sorry, I know I'm out of
Go
time.
ahead. Yes, go ahead.
In curriculum, the Common Core is a framework. The most important thing with that framework is that we have the rigor that we need for all our students, and they're meeting the needs of the 21st century with the workforce. I think my biggest concern with Common Core in general is just the lack of emphasis on social studies and civic education. I think, making sure that C3 standards are included in there when it comes to curriculum, just so that social studies and civics education is included. I think we've seen in the past few years how important that is. I think the biggest thing is just making sure that the teachers and the administration are the ones driving the decision when it comes to curriculum, and the board is there for their support, and that the teachers are also receiving the professional development they need in order to make those decisions that best meet the needs of their students and prepare them for the 21st century.
Hi, Zoe, thank you. So just to give a little background, New Hampshire set up what they call Common Core standards. It's the New Hampshire College and Career Ready standards, and it was created originally to help educators kind of set some clear learning goals. And there's three components to this program. There's the knowledge component, the skills factor, and then some new stuff that a lot of parents are kind of excited about, which is the healthy work and study practices. And that's when we grew up, Common Core was math, language arts, and now the program is really evolving to include some really, really neat stuff. You've got collaboration and creative thinking, communication skills, helping to regulate behavior and emotion, some really, really good stuff. We right now in Newmarket, we're just doing the minimum, and we don't even really have a curriculum on that. So I think that we're getting there. I think that New Hampshire is expanding its Common Core concept, I guess you could say. And I think it's going to bring us and move us into the 21st century.
Hi, it's Amy again. So Common Cores, like what I found interesting about the Common Cores is that right now, the state of New Hampshire is trying to get rid of Common Core practices, which I find not appropriate. I think we need to move forward with these. And, when it was developed back in 2010, it was led by teachers, administrators, experts across the country and internationally. So there is something there, but not many states want to use it. In fact, 16 states are trying to withdraw from using them. But I'm in favor of them. I know that right now the assistant superintendent is trying to develop a curriculum, and that's what she used, Common Core, the New Hampshire College and Career Ready standards. And if we don't continue this, I'm afraid that students are going to suffer as far as their future is concerned, as far as getting achievement rates, college readiness. So I'm in favor of them, and I hope we continue to use them.
Thank you all again. And now back to Ms. April.
All right. What are some of the biggest challenges you see our district facing, and how will you work to amend them? Unless someone feels really strongly, Amy, you just jumped in. I was going to say we can kind of keep the same order, but go for it, Amy.
So in our recent board meeting, it was on January 7th, Assistant Superintendent Deb Black was discussing one of the biggest challenges right now, which is our accreditation issue with the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. And this is pretty scary because if we're not accredited, basically accreditation, if no one understands this, it's done by an independent voluntary nonprofit membership organization, which partners with tons of schools, over 1,500 schools, to assess, support, promote high quality education for students through accreditation, professional assistance, and pursuit of best practices. It's been around since 1885. And it's something that if we don't continue, actually in 2011, we were placed on warning from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, and we've been given 2 extensions. So in the next few years, this is going to be one of our biggest focuses, and the board is, it's going to have to do a lot of work to support our administrators in trying to achieve our accreditation back. We were also put on warning for our community resources, which we've solved that problem. We have a new building, we've renovated, but now the real work comes in and getting back our accreditation. It's been in jeopardy too long, and we need to secure it back in order to continue with high standards of learning for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Preference for Heather, Andrew to go next?
Sorry about that. Yeah, I think Newmarket faces quite a few different challenges, but by far, the New England Association of Schools and College Accreditation Review is the number one thing by far. And I encourage the voters, you should hop on their website, just take 15 minutes and take a look around and see, they'll do the New England location and they will score and rank all of the schools. Again, 10 years ago, I think it was, they put our school on notice for 2 items. And I think all of the voters will probably remember, we also had the issue with the life safety quite a few years ago, and we finally were able to get that pushed through. The 2 main focuses obviously was the facility or the building, structure, the area where the children learn. And Newmarket was great, and they really rallied together and was able to do, some really good renovations and additions to both schools. Well, now that stool needs that second level, which is the actual curriculum itself, which is what the children are learning. What are they learning on an annual basis, and are they ready to learn and go into the next step? We fixed the building, so now here we are and getting ready to figure out what our new curriculum should look like. If you pop on that website, which I thought was really interesting, there's a couple towns that are kind of in the same situation that we are, and that would be Farmington and Northwood and Pittsfield. Those towns are facing the same possible loss of accreditation as we are. And I'd like everyone to kind of think about Newmarket and where Newmarket is right now as far as home values. When you're looking at buying a home. So this accreditation is important not only to our students, but it's really important to our town, because when people are looking to, start a family and come to a community like Andrew did, they are looking for 2 things. They're looking for a vibrant downtown, and they're looking for a school that is accredited, that has forward-thinking people, that has an amazing administration. And if my husband and I we pop on Zillow all the time to see what's going on. There is not one house available for sale in Newmarket. And that's because our schools are on track. We've fixed the facility issue. We have a good place for the students to learn. And now we're ready to build this curriculum. And I'm really excited. I think that, it's not a matter of, can we do this? It's a matter of, all right, what's step 1? Where do we go? Get me my whiteboard. Let's go. Boom, boom, boom. I think we've got some key people that are being brought into this administration, and we can't go backwards anymore. It's time. We're ready. I'm excited. I'm excited for our future review. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Andrew?
Absolutely. So with the accreditation, I've gone through the process a number of times as a teacher, and I've served on the committees that have been part of it. It's a very labor intensive, and my hat's off always for the teachers that go through it, because it's a lot of additional work on their part. The accreditation part itself is, I always kind of compare it to like when a corporation or municipality goes through the credit rating, what they're going to sell bonds, where basically they're just kind of looking at the general health of the school. Now, the loss of accreditation is scary. I don't want people to think the sky is falling. Yes, the accreditation agency is not in the business of trying to take away accreditation. It's really more of a way for them to set goals for schools and ensure that they're constantly moving forward. The curriculum part is worrisome to me. As someone that has served on curriculum at the state and national level, it is extremely important because it ties everything together and really defines what a student is. And as far as I can see, there really is nothing tying classrooms together within grade levels, as well as the grade levels themselves vertically. And that's something that really needs to be accomplished. And I think, as Heather mentioned here, that we've done great job by establishing these schools and moving us forward here as a community. And this is really the last key part here. I think another really important aspect we need to understand here is that this pandemic is going to have lasting impacts on our education system. with students, both with the knowledge that they've lost as well as the mental health that's coming out of it. It's going to allow us to take a very purposeful approach to it. That's going to need both the relationship between the teachers, the administration, and the school board to really tackle that. And it's going to last us a while. And I think that's why it's so important that if I could contribute to the board to help them understand what schools need to do to really address that. I think one other, since announcing my candidacy, a lot of people on Facebook and stopped me on the street have asked me my view on the administration, almost like I need to like put on a jersey and cheer for one side or the other. And I really want people to know that I'm not going to do that. And I know that the questions that have been addressed to me is because people don't know me in the community. I've only be here for 6 years. Please understand that I love education. I don't think there's anything more powerful and more representative what a community can achieve. And I have two children that are going to be in the school district for 12 years in a house, as Heather mentioned here, that I want to see, be successful. I am going to enter into every single discussion I have, knowing that what needs to be done is what's best for the children. And that's going to be asking some very pointed, very important questions. And does not mean I necessarily support people or I don't support them. It just means that I want to know what's going on. And more importantly, I want the community to know what's going on. Because I feel like when questions are asked and answered, we can really understand what we need to do to move forward as a community.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you all. Just a quick, I don't know if that was your microphone rubbing, but if everyone could just do a quick mic check to make sure they're muted. All right, thank you. Zoe, I believe you have the next question.
Yeah, thank you. So how would you all work to accommodate both students' educational and socio-emotional needs, especially in light of the pandemic? As Andrew was just talking about, mental health has been very important. It's gone downhill for everybody, students as well. So how would you go about addressing mental health in conjunction with educational needs?
Hi, Zoe. This is really, really important, and it's near and dear to, my vision for Newmarket. I've spent some time over the last week interviewing some parents. I've also had an opportunity. I reached out to our superintendent, and I asked if I could interview her. I had some questions. And she was gracious enough. She actually ended up spending an hour and a half with me, and I learned so much. And a couple things that I think are important is continuity as well as teacher training. In order to provide for our students' needs, we really need to provide for the teachers' needs. And if COVID hasn't taught us anything, it's that the emotional and mental health of our students really starts to show when we're in this crazy situation. I think that we need to do and invest more money and time into professional development for our teachers. That needs to be in the forefront. How can we ask our teachers to help educate and coach and, I don't know, I guess help students navigate this personal tragedy that we're going through? These teachers are asking for help. They're asking for more leadership. They're asking for somebody to help get them trained. We want to look at inquiry groups and simulation training and all of those things that teachers, most kids, a lot of them are coming from two working parents and they're stuck at home, and working through that emotional depression and anxiety and kids that are falling through the cracks. It's hard enough on these teachers, and if we're not investing some time, I look at this administration and, obviously that's a hot topic, but this administration is really packed with some incredibly intelligent people. I mean, the resumes on these people are amazing. And I don't know if the community knows or thinks about it. Do you know we have had 8 superintendents in 15 years? I mean, can you imagine? Think about your own organization and your own work life. Can you imagine if your boss was changed over every 2 years. What does that do? What does that do to morale? What does that do to morale of teachers? Um, you know, how on earth can we build a top-notch curriculum and a top-notch education and get out of this, the the hell or whatever is going to come out of this pandemic, and get these kids on the other side and help them? And that is only by being, it's only, we can only do it if we're together as a team, and the parents take control, the teachers take control, and the administration. The school board, our job is to be a liaison and to help set the policies that the teachers can work around. I don't know how we accommodate socio-economical issues if we're not helping our teachers and give them the tools to help these kids. They're on the front lines, and they're the ones that need the additional training.
Is that better? Is it still, hear the rubbing at all on my sweater? I feel like my grandmother's over my shoulder say, I kept telling you to sit up straight when you're growing up, and look at what happens.
It sounds better.
Thank you. I think I second a lot of what Heather said. A lot of me and the needs of students coming out of this is going to need to come from the teachers and the administrators, and the board's job is to really make sure that they have the resources and the means to do that. They're in the classroom every day and they see those students, and I could tell you that, as a teacher that's seeing this, it's difficult, and it's also difficult for the teachers. And we need to understand too that they're going to need a lot of support through professional development, and understanding that, the best this year is going to be a little bit defined differently than it has in the past. One thing that's really kind of frustrated me out of this in general, out of this whole year as a society, is while the pandemic has really created difficult situations, also created an opportunity for us to do some really cool, amazing things with education. And I'm just afraid in general that we're going to miss that opportunity as a society. And I really hope that we take advantage of it. And I think we have the teachers and we have the people in positions to really make that possible here at Newmarket.
Hello, it's Amy. So as far as students' education and social emotional needs are concerned, they're both interdependent. So without one, you may not do well in the other. So I feel like there's so many things we can continue doing. One, support our teachers. Unfortunately, with professional development, it's been really hard this year for them to attend. So next year we need to get up and running with that. Second of all, we need to continue things that support our children, that help enhance their overall environment. Do they have extracurricular activities? We need to continue to support that, a supportive school climate. Get them involved in community service, help with career planning, things that make them feel good about themselves. And it shows, research shows that the quality of education, academic achievement for children increases when they feel great about themselves. They feel accepted in society, emotionally, they feel well. So it's really important. We need to continue routines. And I know in COVID, it's been hard to have routine for our children, which is pretty sad, because some children just, that's how they get through the day. They have to have routines, set routines. And so hopefully after this year, we can get back to people actually looking at each other's faces and not wearing the mask, and get back to supporting each other in person. And so that's it.
Thank you all. Second to last question is going to be asked by Ms. April.
Thank you, Zoe. Is political advocacy something that should be encouraged within public schools? And then the second part to that is, how should student political advocacy be approached in our district's regulations? It's a loaded one.
Yeah, sure is.
Can I ask real quick with this question? We talk about advocacy. Are we talking about like a club like the Newmarket High School Democrats, or are we talking about like the ability for students to walk out of the classroom to protest something? Or yes.
I think you can really take it either way. I mean, especially like where this is moderated by like the Democratic club at school. So I think it was created more with like that sort of lens, but really like guys take it and run with it however you want, however you feel it should be talked about. Yeah, discussion is good. So whatever you have to offer, really.
That didn't make the question easier to answer. Yeah. um, so first off, I want to tell you how amazing it is. I think that this club is hosting this. Research again and again has shown that if we can get students at a young age to become politically active, as simple as voting, they'll continue on with that for the rest of their lives. I think this last election was the first time that the age group 18 to 25 was the largest number of people that could vote. But consistently, that group has always been the group that's least likely showed up. And I think that as we see them become more active, we're really starting to see them become more, the issues that are more relevant to them with climate change and student loans are really starting to be addressed. I think that's what we need to do to happen, to get these people to get out and vote and be politically active. So thank you for that. On that note, I absolutely do think that advocacy within the schools is fine. I think as long as it does not make other students feel like they don't belong or that they're unsafe. Obviously, the most important thing is to ensure that learning can occur and that all students have a sense of belonging there. And that's been affirmed by the Supreme Court numerous times. Um, um, as it comes to like walking out or protests or things like that, I think, in many ways it's brave for students to do that, but they also have to understand that when that happens, they are breaking rules and there is a consequence to that. And that goes for adults too, when it comes to protesting and things like that. So on that note, I absolutely would support advocacy within schools and hopefully create the policies the school board can do to try and define that better about what it means to be advocates of something in the school system, as well as ensuring that everyone feels safe and belonging.
Thank you. Amy.
Hi, it's Amy. Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way, Andrew. I believe that kids should learn about politics at an early age. I think my daughter knows more than I do actually at this point. She's very involved in politics, and it's encouraging to see so many young people feel that way and voting. So I definitely would encourage it. I do have some reservations just because I wouldn't want students to feel influenced by groups that, if they weren't on board with their values or so that's only, I'd like to make sure there was some clear guidelines to make sure that in policies that would prevent students from feeling they didn't belong, or they had to be in a certain group and have certain ideas of their classmates. But I definitely would encourage it. I think it's a great thing. I never had that in high school growing up. And looking back, I wish I did, because, I was told what I was a Democrat or a Republican. My parents told me it was like I didn't have a choice. And now children know students are learning that they have choices and what they want in life. So yeah, I would encourage it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I think that kids getting involved in this stuff is amazing. You think about your own education and, civics class and, political science and all of these things, that debate club and all the things that we grew up with. And it doesn't necessarily have to be two Democratic or Republican groups. I think it's amazing when you can get kids together and work on acts of service and having debates and talking about things. Sometimes I'll have an opinion on something, and someone will let me see something in a different way, and I'll say, okay, how do we foster that within our education system? And I think that we have, again, it goes back to that support of the administration and a support of these teachers, so they can help get that voice out for people, so they don't feel afraid when they want to join a club and they want to get on a debate team. And I think that anytime we can get kids to vote and be part of us as a society and as a civilization, there's no wrong there.
Thank you very much. Back to Zoe for the last question.
Hey, last question. So another kind of political one. Given the current political climate in the US, do you feel that all students, regardless of political leaning, have a real voice in schools? And follow up, why do you feel that way?
Hi, it's Amy. I think that, all people have a voice, but students should have a voice in school. If you can't voice how you feel, how you learn, how you develop relationships, your beliefs, perspectives on things, even your cultural backgrounds, how do you develop all the essential tools you need to become a mature, responsible person and get to college and in the work and get into the workforce? So I totally think students should have a voice. And to touch on something Andrew said, as long as students are respectful, and don't break rules, of course. Of course, people should have a voice. So I definitely would support that. I think it teaches, teachers need to learn to respond, listen and respond to what's really matters to students, because just because one student learns one way doesn't necessarily mean another student learns the same way. So students shouldn't be grouped into one size fits all. I think students grow different ways. And so if we don't listen to their voice, listen to their concerns, they're not going to ever feel valued, and that their opinion matters. So I definitely support that.
Zoe, thank you for that question. I think finding your voice starts at a very young age, and sometimes that's nurtured by your family, and sometimes that's nurtured by your school, by your teachers, by your counselors. Teachers and counselors spend their entire careers working on trying to find ways to help students get their voice. Obviously, first thing that comes to mind is Parkland High School. Those kids, you want to talk about finding their voice. That's just amazing. High schoolers now are dealing with, grief and loss and anxiety and depression and all of those things that they're facing. And we as adults, we as community members, we as educators, and we as the school board owe them to set policies that treat them fairly, that allow them to have a voice. And Newmarket, actually, the kids in Newmarket, you look at, when I looked back on, the last year, the Newmarket kids were surveyed to see what kind of classes that they may want to add to the curriculum. Again, that was one of the things that, we're working on, is getting new things. The kids came up, I printed it out I found a snapshot. They were asking for like amazing things that we actually, as an administration, was able to get them. Guitar lab, AP bio, criminology and forensic, AP statistics, current events, Chinese Mandarin 4. I love the fact that our Newmarket kids stand up and say, I have a voice. These are the things that I want. And we as administrators say, all right, that sounds like a good idea. You want it? Let's find a way for you to get it. And having our students, our Newmarket students, be part of committees to look at re-entry into schools, how to handle COVID and things like that. I give kudos to the seniors as well as the juniors and other kids that really are getting out there and making a voice for Newmarket. And I don't know, you can't ask for anything better. So, yeah.
Absolutely. The part about this question that kind of caught me was the political climate in the United States, and kind of that's where I took it. As a social studies teacher, I'm very aware of everything that's going on, and I had difficulty answering this question just because I don't know what's going on in other classrooms. I could tell you in my classroom, I'm always make a very intended point at the very beginning to make sure I create an environment where students feel like they're safe and they can belong and they can share their views. And I think it's extremely important as they start, figuring out not who they are, but also their beliefs. I think though the other side of this question is about teachers. When I was watching the events transpire on January 6th at the Capitol, one view that stuck with me was this young adult sitting in the chair of the president of the Senate. And I was just thinking how complete and utterly that was a failing of civic education. And I think that in order to make sure that we have students who are prepared to participate in democracy, we need to make sure that we have students that feel comfortable, asking, what do you believe? Why do you believe that? What evidence do you have to support that? Is that evidence, accurate? So I think, I know speaking as a civics teacher myself, that's difficult right now in this environment. And I think making sure that the board is vocal and understanding that we need to create an environment where all students feel safe and have a sense of belonging, that teachers also feel like that they're protected, that when they do ask students those questions, that, that policy's there to back them up. I always tell my parents when back to school night that ideas are discussed in the classroom, but decisions are made around the dining room table. And I really think we need to understand that both sides of this question here are very evident. So thank you.
Thank you all so much. I really mean it. Thank you so much for being willing to sit down and answer all of our questions and just have a discussion with us. So it's almost 4 and I don't want to keep you guys too long, but I wanted to see if anybody in the audience had any lingering questions that they really, really wanted to ask you guys. So if you're okay sticking around for a few extra minutes, we can ask some questions. If anybody in the audience has any, just unmute yourselves or throw it in the chat and I can read it off for you, whatever you prefer. But go ahead.
Hi, this is Adrienne Wachowiak. I'm a parent in the school. One of my biggest frustrations in the last 2 years has been what I feel is a lack of communications from the administration and the school board. And I've been pretty vocal about it. So my question to you is, especially in this year of unprecedented disruption, I think it's really important for the administration and the school board to really be in constant contact with the community, the parents, and I feel like that's really lacking. So my question is, what would you do to elevate communications moving forward?
Adrienne, great question. And one of the things that I think we're trying, in my mind, what I think we should be trying to do is kind of streamline this communication. When over the last couple of years, when I watch the meetings, I take notes, I have notebooks, I am highly in this all in to really focus on the school district. Having access now on the website has been crucial to parents to be able to go onto our district website now and see the minutes, see the documents, and see videos. I think that at least if we start there, we've got to learn to walk first. And if we can at least start and say to ourselves, okay, we can communicate on one level at this point. Now, as we're going forward, especially as we're going into this curriculum thing, there's going to be a lot of need for input. I don't know if that's through, a Facebook thing. I don't think that that gets the professional and the accurate stuff that we want out. But could there be a portal? Yeah, I think we have great opportunity to enhance that communication where people can give feedback, good feedback, as well as some criticism, where we could find better channels. But I think we at least have to start on the base. And I'm really, really proud that we've got this website up and going because it was long needed. It was very frustrating for me as a parent.
Hi, Adrienne, it's Amy. So I understand your frustration. I felt the same way before I joined the school board. And the lack of information for the school board, we don't come out and put out statements. Everything comes through the superintendent. But what I think, and I have proposed, I'm not sure what school meeting it was recently though, that the district has a Facebook page or a Twitter, I don't know, whatever social media avenue, I'm not sure. So we have discussed that, and hopefully we'll move forward with that. I truly think we need to explain to the community how the school board goes about decision making. How did they come up with that? And when did they decide that? Some people can't attend meetings or see the meetings all the time. It's hard to catch up, and sometimes it's hard to get into a middle of a meeting and understand what we're really talking about. But I think that we need to improve on that. I totally agree. And I'm hoping to work on that in the next year, whether I'm on the board or not. But social media would be one avenue. And thanks for the question. It was a great question.
It's actually one of the reasons that I'm running for school board. It's difficult to find information as well as to get answers. I can't tell you how frustrating it is to send an email and not have it responded to. And I know that the reason that it's not always responded to right away is because people are inundated, extremely busy. But I think, something as simple as on the school webpage, to be able to have a place where I have this question about this topic, and then that service basically then sends that question to the appropriate person within the district, and hopefully that divide and conquer sense would help solve the problem. I also think, Facebook or social media is extremely important. I know it's not the most professional means, but it is unfortunately the means that we're using right now. And it's most popular. And I don't understand, it seems like that would be a really cool opportunity for a journalism class at the high school in order to fulfill, their assignments or that the show mastery, and then use them basically as ways to send out information that way as what's in the district and policies and things like that. But I definitely voice your frustration with the communication and understanding. I think part of that too is just making sure that questions are asked at the school board, not necessarily to as gotcha, but just so that we understand how decisions are being made and why they're important. Thanks.
Actually, can I add one more thing? As far as communication is concerned, we years ago, when people would go to school board meetings, they would be able to, you have the 3 minutes you can speak for public comment, and people would ask questions and they actually would get answers. And it has been changed. Obviously, I think everyone knows that you get up and speak, you say your you ask questions, but you don't get answers, which I find frustrating. And as a school board member, it's really uncomfortable for me to sit there and just look at someone and not answer them. So if I'm on the board again, I want to propose to amend that current policy so we can go back to the old version where you can ask a question and get an answer. So I know that could prolong meetings, but we only meet every 2 weeks, so I don't have a problem with it. I think the fear was that meetings would be really, really long if we, answered questions, but that's something I want to propose in the near future.
Thank you, and thank you for the question, Adrian. I think Nicole's been waiting for a while, so Nicole, you can ask your question.
Hi, Zoe. Thank you for seeing that. I have a question for all three of you. All three of you said that you opposed HB 20. I want to know if all three of you also were able to have the chance to register that with the state as opposition.
I did.
Yep. I sent an email and also checked through the website today. Absolutely.
Yes, I signed it, and then I sent emails to the people on the committee.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So Marty asked in the chat, if you're elected, what would you try to do to turn down the temperature on discussions within the town?
Improve communication. I think it's a lack of communication and rumors that get so out of hand. And I think if we can answer people's questions, and like I've said, just to Adrian's question about, before I joined the school board, I thought I knew, probably 50% of how they do things. It was not even close to that. It was amazingly different. And so I think if we can inform the public how our decisions are made, how we come to them when we vote, and keep the public more aware of that, and with the social media route, we can get rid of all these rumors that go through town, and hopefully that would make the public more aware and not so hot-headed about issues that necessarily aren't true that they're believing. So that's what I would do.
Marty, I would love to do a school board 101, and I think that would be really helpful to the community. The school board doesn't run the school. It's just there to be sure that the policies are being taken, the rules are being followed, that things are in place. And that's very important because policies can be federal policies or state policies or local policies. The New Hampshire, there's not much wiggle room for a lot of stuff. And we have to follow the rules and the laws that are set forth. If we start to open that door for some things, it can go sideways fast. Last year and everything, the term transparency, that was the big keyword. Everyone wanted transparency. That's a double-edged sword. Transparency isn't sharing secrets about things or with a group of people. Transparency is about explaining a policy, having open meetings, having minutes up, going through the budget process. That's transparency. You can watch the meetings. You're welcome to join. You can write in, you can speak, you can see everything. That's what transparency is. It's not sharing employee information or student information. That is extremely private and it's so unethical. And if you, this board has to be a circle of trust, and the community needs to trust that. And if that's, going rogue, then we definitely have a problem. We can always look to amend policies, but we've got to do that correctly. And many of you are familiar with that. We've got to go through debate and you've got to go through a legal process. We can look at amending some of the policies, district-wide. Federal, obviously we can't, and state we can't either. So I know that it's frustrating for some, but you know, there's only so much that the board does. The board governs, it doesn't run the school.
I think I mentioned at the very beginning that, you know, as people, we typically spend our most amount of time on our children and our money, and I feel like you know, a lot of the frustration just feels like you know, the lack of communication and the lack of concern that perhaps the school board you know, isn't communicating how that's being addressed and being cared for. I think communication is very important. I think also listening is extremely important as well, even if you disagree with that person. You know, on this, I believe that I have a certain amount of knowledge as well as skills. I can ask questions during the school board to make sure that things are adequately communicated, just to explain to the general public what's going on. And I promise that I will always listen to people, and I will always, you know, try and explain how decisions are made. But at the end of it, I will always make the decisions that are best for the students. And I think that really, you know, emphasizing that will really help calm one down, is kind of trust the board and the district.
Thank you all, and thank you for the question, Marty. Does anybody have any other questions?
I want to be mindful of everyone's time.
Yeah.
Because you all gave your time so generously to us this afternoon. Thank you so, so much. If any members that are here or participants did have any burning questions, they can certainly send them along to myself, the advisor, or to Zoe McGurk. And we can pass them along to the board. And maybe when we post this, we can share their responses too, if they're willing to respond. But I just want to thank everyone so much for attending.
Addressing the extremists, domestic terrorists, is actually rescinded. So it's been in a couple
Zoe, I'll
years,
let you.
Great. I don't know.
I think someone has. Yeah.
I do not know who's unmuted. I am sorry about that.
Specifically, I mean, Frank Figluzzi, Chris Ray tested.
Okay. So, do you want to finish what you were saying?
I just was going to wrap up and just to be mindful of everyone's time. But if
Yeah.
anyone did have any other questions, to certainly send them along to our club, and we'll make sure they get to the candidates. And just thank you all so, so much for being present and speaking with us.
Yeah, thank you all so much. To all the audience members, this will be posted on like the Facebook groups, maybe sent to staff members at the school who are unable to attend. But yeah, if the candidates have any closing remarks.
Zoe, are you going to be able to get this up on the website? Because lots of people aren't on Facebook. That would be great.
That's a really good idea.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Zoe, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
So you asked a question about what were the biggest challenges our district is facing. What do you think they are as a high school teacher? I'm sorry, I put you on the spot there. I'm just curious.
I think there's a big crisis with funding within the state. There always has been. Like public education funding, public school funding is under attack in New Hampshire with a lot of bills like HB 20, which is now Senate Bill 130, and then with the governor's budget too, like millions of dollars are being stripped from public schools across the state, and it's a travesty. Like right now, we have to allocate so much money to different like COVID related funds. We've had to think on our feet and, you know, disperse funds elsewhere. And then we're critically understaffed. That's always been an issue. It's still an issue. More funding would definitely help with that. And then we could help, like more funding would mean more staff members, which would mean we could increase our curriculum, because like the curriculum extensions from last year, those are fantastic. I'm in several of those new classes. I love them. It's just been like an excellent way to end my high school experience, but there are still some classes that we're unable to run. Like I was supposed to take AP statistics, we either didn't have enough interest within the student body, or we didn't have enough staff members to cover that class. So I'm taking it online. It's not fun. And there are some other circumstances of that happening. If we could increase funding, we could increase our staff supply, and also just increase the resources that they have available to them to make sure that they're teaching to their fullest potential. We need to make sure that our staff members are just equipped with all of the resources that they need to be successful in their jobs. But yeah, I guess it's not really super specific to Newmarket. That's more of a state and like federal issue, I believe. But
Your sister.
yeah. I hope that kind of answered your question.
Great. Thank you so much. I know I put you on the spot there.
Who's that? This is the forum for the school board candidates.
You watching her? That's my mom. Hi. I muted her. Okay, so we ran.
So I just wanted to thank you and congratulations on getting into Dartmouth.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, but please reach out to me with any questions. Reach out to Miss April. I'll try to make sure that this recording is shared on all platforms. Hopefully it'll be on the website. Yeah, just thank you all so much for coming. Thank you to the candidates for being so willing to answer all of our questions so thoughtfully. And you were also prepared too. It's awesome. I love it. So yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Have a great night.
Bye, Zoe.
Thank you.